The ancient Greeks had a single word to express the condition of being without a road, when the way forward is not clear: aporia. It represents a moment pregnant with the arrival of something unlooked for. These experiences of serendipity and faith feel a bit scarce in contemporary culture, and the language for articulating them seems to be fading from common use. We have a vision of the future in which there would be little scope for such moments. The most authoritative voices in commerce and technology express a determination to eliminate contingency from life as much as possible, and replace it with machine-generated certainty. That's what automation does, whatever else it may accomplish. Suddenly, it is in the realm of mobility that this vision is being expressed. Suddenly, driving is a topic that cries out for critical, humanistic inquiry. Introduction. Driving as a Humanism. On September 19, 2016, the National Economic Council and the U.S. Department of Transportation held a joint press conference. We envision in the future you can take your hands off the wheel and your commute becomes restful or productive instead of frustrating and exhausting, said Jeffrey Zients, director of the National Economic Council. President Barack Obama himself wrote an op-ed on behalf of driverless cars in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette the same day. President Donald Trump affirmed these priorities early in his administration. Driverless cars will finally solve the problem of moving people around with maximum efficiency by ceding human control to impersonal algorithms. They promise to bring a messy, dangerous domain of life under control at last. Traffic jams will likely become a thing of the past, and accidents will be greatly reduced. So we are told, at any rate. In this we can detect a familiar pattern. Driverless cars are one instance of a wider shift in our relationship to the physical world, in which the demands of competence give way to a promise of safety and convenience. The skilled practitioner becomes a passive beneficiary of something more systemic, rendering his skill obsolete. Human beings are terrible drivers. That is the refrain. It's hard to disagree. We are so distracted behind the wheel. We are already driving as if our cars were self-driving, but they are not, and the result can be deadly for anyone not encased in the ever-growing mass and air-bagged bloat of contemporary cars. Motorcycle deaths have shot up, and highway deaths overall rose at their fastest rate in 50 years from 2013 to 2015, despite a proliferation of new safety features. The causal sequence that led us to this point is not hard to identify. Arguably, the first and fatal development was that cars became boring to drive, starting in the 1990s. I mean, really boring. The problem is that they got very heavy and pursued a goal of maximum insulation from the road by damping out all mechanical transients, a design ideal that previously informed only luxury cars but trickled down to car makers' entire model lines. With no shifter and no clutch, you don't really feel that you are doing anything. This lack of involvement is exacerbated by features that partially automate the driving task, such as cruise control. Nor with GPS navigation are you much required to notice your surroundings and to actively convert what you see into an evolving mental picture of your route. Between the quiet smoothness, the passivity, and the sense of being cared for by some surrounding entity you can't quite identify, driving a modern car is a bit like returning to the womb. The smartphone arrived in 2007. Now we had something to keep boredom at bay while getting around in the new manner, and it proved irresistible. This irresistibility became the basis of a new business model in Silicon Valley, harvesting and selling our attention. This is not hard to do when the road is a distant and dimly felt thing, as it is when one is serenely cocooned in 4,000 pounds of plushness. The windshield begins to seem like one more screen, and it cannot compete with the dopamine candy offered on the other screens. So now Silicon Valley is going to solve the problem of distracted driving that it helped to create by removing us from the driver's seat. Perhaps that is a good thing, on balance, given the realities. But it also represents a quiet coup of some consequence.